Dominion Dynamics is about, for both military and civilian use case, but it's about a sensing network in the Arctic. You have focused as an investor largely on AI. This happens to be your first defense play. Timely, but what's your thesis here in making the play?
Well, you're right. Dominion Dynamics is a company with a vision to become Canada's first defense neoprime. And they're starting by building an Arctic sensing and intelligence network for dual-use purposes. Now, our investment in this company really began with a first meeting with the CEO and founder, Elliot Pence. And what really struck me in that meeting was not only the scale and the strategic importance of this market, but the uniquely relevant background that Elliot has to lead in this space, having been an early Anduril employee that helped lead the company's go-to-market expansion into multiple geographies.
We see that alumni effect, that network effect, SpaceX alumni, Anduril alumni, new companies. But in the here and now, when you see the news headlines such that they are about Greenland, I guess that must give you more confidence that this is the right strategy right now.
Oh, absolutely. At Georgian, we see several very strong tailwinds for a company like Dominion. First is that the Canadian government has made it very clear that they have a commitment to increase defense spending from 2% of GDP to 5% over the next 10 years. The Arctic, as you just mentioned, has become an increasingly strategic and critical geography in the geopolitical landscape. And what's interesting is that there are very few technology options for operating in the extreme conditions of the Arctic environment. And Dominion is developing ruggedized devices and equipment to solve this non-trivial problem. And the last thing I'll say is that with the rise of companies like Anduril and Helsing, we're really watching a battle between legacy defense primes and neoprimes play out in the US and Europe. But it's a little bit different in Canada in that we don't have any real legacy defense primes. So there's a white space. And at Georgian, we believe that Dominion is poised to go capture that.
Margaret, there aren't many investors that also have an AI lab. So where will you help a Dominion in that case? Where are you helping your portfolio companies with your own talent that you have?
Right. What makes Georgian different, and we've been investing in AI since 2016, is that we actually have our own internal AI lab of about 20-plus data scientists, ML engineers, DevOps engineers, and cybersecurity professionals that work with our portfolio companies after we invest to accelerate their own product roadmaps. So as AI investors, when we were looking at defense tech in a company like Dominion Dynamics, we really see an industry that is undergoing digital transformation and disruption from AI, like many other hardware and labor-intensive industries. Defense is essentially becoming software-defined, and there's an increasing emphasis on the concept of connected mass, meaning how do you quickly produce a lot of things, but how do you make sure those things can speak to each other? And that really intersects with what we do at Georgian every day, looking at areas of technology like multimodal AI, physical AI, cybersecurity, and edge computing. So our companies are working on these types of companies, tracking where we believe they are headed and going, and we believe in that sense we're going to be a great partner for a platform like Dominion, along with our Canadian presence and connectivity.
If you're thinking of you really inherently an AI investor, but now it's focused on defense, look, defense is a hot space, and we know valuations have been high. Another big bet of yours has been Replit, and boy, is that paying off with its scale of its valuation. In the latest, as we understand, they're tripling its valuation to $9 billion. We understand you at Georgian are helping lead that funding round. When is it the right stage to invest? How are you getting comfortable with these valuations?
Well, I can't really comment on a potential transaction, but you're right. We are an existing investor in Replit, and I believe this is a category-defining company at the app generation layer of vibe coding. When you think about some of the lofty valuations that you're seeing, it's really the potential of the market size behind something like Replit and app generation. If software is eating the world, then you should know that vibe coding is eating software, and that process is only accelerating. So we believe this has the potential to be one of the largest markets we've ever seen. And what I find particularly notable about a company like Replit is that its product with the exceptional growth and millions of users, is still the worst version of itself every single day, because the company is moving with such velocity that new incremental features are coming out almost on a weekly basis. And with every new coding agent launch, the company is making leaps forward towards creating a one-shot, full-stack engineering team and infrastructure to boot.
Margaret, our next guest is a pure-play software name in the defense space. But I want to go back to what you just said, the software being of value here, and also Dominion wanting to be a neo-prime.
Yeah.
Now we know that also software is capital intensive. I just wondered if you could reflect on that, the need to fund growth for these companies, would be it talent, access to compute, and software competence. It's still an expensive gig.
Absolutely. I think historically there has been defense tech has been a harder sector to invest into because of the startup valley of death and the amount of capital required. But with the speed and the productivity that we are seeing with things like vibe coding, we believe companies can move a lot faster in a much more cost-effective way. And that's how you've seen the rise of the neoprimes.